ladies and gentlemen, once again, Carlos Dominguez.
Did you have fun last night? Yeah. What a party! That was so awesome. That was the best venue I've ever seen. I thought everything went great. And I was watching the video and seeing all of you last night. I know everyone was having a good time. So we're going to continue. Before I move on to doing why you're all here, I do have to take a moment to thank a few people. I don't know if you really understand the amount of work it takes to pull something of this magnitude off. This isn't something we say, a week ago, hey, let's put on a show. We've been working on this thing, and this particular team works on preparing to make everything perfect for you for at least a year. And I want to take a moment to recognize a few people here. Number one, the people that I want to recognize is everyone up there with the exception of these three individuals. What can I tell you? I'm sure Train has never had X's on their heads, but I did it. But what I want to do is, I really want to ask the Cisco Live team to please stand up. I know you're here. Where are you? Stand up. And I want to give them a big round of applause. Such a great job. We really appreciate it. So now the moment I think you've all come today is the time to meet someone that really doesn't need me to introduce him. I know all of you know who he is. As a matter of fact, when we survey you every year, we ask you, who should the guest speaker be? By far, your choice is this man. So he's very well known. Very, very accomplished, multifaceted. I just got to spend 30 minutes with him backstage. And I have to tell you, not only all of his accomplishments, he is so darn funny. My cheeks hurt from laughing with him. So without further ado, please give a very warm Cisco Live welcome to none other than William Shatner. Why don't we take a seat? We're going to have some fun together. You want to sit?
Yeah, I sat there in rehearsal. I think I'll sit there.
I think that's where you should be. You can sit anywhere you want. Well, welcome.
Thank you so much. Why so many people?
There are a lot of people.
Such expectations.
Well, tell them the story of what happened while you were coming down here.
Well, I was in Lexington, Kentucky last week.
With a couple Lexingtons.
I was riding a powerful horse in competition and driving a powerful horse in competition, and I wanted to be in Lexington because it's horses, but I also wanted to be in Las Vegas because it's Cisco.
Yeah!
So I knew I had to get on an airplane early this morning to get here in time. And I worried about it, and when you have that intuition, something's going to happen, and you think, I know it's going to happen. It's going to, like I'm going to win, or I'm going to lose in Las Vegas. I had an intuition that the plane wasn't going to go. And I worried about it all day, even into the competition last night. I was worried the plane wasn't going to go, and I had people in Los Angeles checking on that Delta flight from Cincinnati, because I had to drive from Lexington to Cincinnati, and 4:30 this morning, up we went. There's going to be something on the road. It's going to stop. There was no traffic. So right up. Got into the Cincinnati airport. Have you ever been in the Cincinnati airport?
Oh yeah.
You know it's deserted. It's eerie. It's like they knew a bomb was going to go off. You look around, there's nobody there. There's all these buildings, and there's nothing there. It was my Delta flight was there, sitting lonely. They were washing and scrubbing. They had nothing to do. Waxing. I thought, this plane's not taking off at 9:20 this morning. I just know it. I feel it. And I get on, and finally they announce it. I get on, and I sit down, and I think, well, He said, I know. They're going to announce, you have to stay on board for the next 3 hours. You know how they do? And the last minute, a pretty girl sits down beside me. I go, that's a good sign right there. And she says, you know, I've been worried about this flight all night. I don't think this flight is going to take off. She says, I said, it's the same thing. She says, you know, I'm partially American Indian. And I said, well, do you believe in the spirits and things that Native Americans seem to believe in? She said, yes, I do, of course. This plane may not make it to Las Vegas. I said, I agree with you. The plane took off and landed 10 minutes early, so none of that means anything.
Well, we're glad you were wrong.
Yeah, so am I. Imagine saying, and without further ado, and I don't come on.
Well, we're glad. We're very glad that you're here.
Thank you.
So, when I did research on you, when I found out, first of all, that you were going to be the person I was going to get the privilege of interviewing, I started doing some research on you, and I think we all know the obvious things. What became very apparent to me was how much other things about you that I didn't know. And the first thing I want to do is I really want to test this audience to see if they really know what I found out about you. So there's a multiple question, and this is going to be simple. This is going to be a show of hands. What did William Shatner study in college? Was it A, ophthalmology? Any A's? Okay, we got a couple.
One eyes for ophthalmology.
How about mathematics? Any mathematics? Shakespeare. Okay. And political science. Okay, so what is the correct answer, Bill?
None of those. I hope your research in Cisco is better than the research. I graduated with a degree in business administration, a Bachelor of Commerce. Bachelor of Commerce, we call it here. A Bachelor, or it's the other way around, I forgot, it's been so many years. I got a degree in business from McGill University.
Fantastic. But you've been doing acting and you've been doing things since you
were
very young.
Well, the story is that I went to university in Montreal, where I was born, and so you know McGill, you know how prestigious McGill is, and I wasn't a very good high school student. I was into football and acting and girls. And then I got into the university, and I immediately started doing the drama department and the radio and the theatricals and the college musicals were a big part of my education. I never went to class. So in the 4 years that I was there and I graduated with the minimal amount of education you could get. And went on that summer of my graduation, I went on to a professional job at a professional theater who hired me as the manager of the theater company because I had a degree in business. But I had never been to business class. I had cheated my way through college, if you want to know the truth. But I got my education in theater because I was doing. And so I was fired after a few weeks as a business manager and hired as an actor. And then the summer season ended, and there was a winter season going on in Ottawa with a professional Canadian company, one of 2 or 3 in Canada, called the Canadian Repertory Theatre. And the manager there called me and said, would you come and work as a manager? So like in every business, including Cisco as I understand it, you can fail upwards. I just happened to be sitting beside you. I didn't. Anyway, that's the story of what I studied and how I got started. What I studied has nothing to do with what I ultimately did.
Well, thank you for clarifying that. We'll have to do better research.
Now, there is an addendum to that whole thing.
Okay.
And that happened a couple of months ago. McGill gave me an honorary doctorate.
Good lesson.
And I told them basically, the graduating class, I told them basically this, what I've just told you. But in addition, I gave them some words of advice, which is don't be afraid to fail, and you know, the usual thing. And then I said, don't be afraid of making an ass of yourself. I do it all the time, and look what I got.
You know, the other one I wanted to pose to the audience here was, which has William Shatner done? And now this could be flawed too. I've got some sort of sense that that might be in the future. But number one, authored multiple science fiction books and music albums. You think so? Became the licensed pilot. Anybody for that one? Okay. How about help create a ballet? Just a couple of hands. How about bred horses? Okay. So what is the correct answer?
Well, lucky you. They're all true. Horses, flying, cars, life. All the things you mentioned are things that I've done, yes.
So talk a little bit about the horses. When we were backstage talking, you have, well, I would say, a little bit of passion about horses.
Well, I love horses. I love animals. We have dogs. I bred over the many years. I bred Dobermans and shown Dobermans, and even got to Westminster with a dog and almost won the class. The judge went looking at me, you. But that's as close as I got to it. But I was there at Westminster, and over the last many years, 25 years or so, I've been showing horses. I've been riding in competition. And the competition I ride in are three kinds. In California, mostly, I ride quarter horses that are taught a skill, a sport called reining. And reining is designed around what the cowboys used to do. Cowboys used to go chase a cow or a calf to doctor the calf. So they'd run after the calf would stop suddenly, so the cowboy on his horse would have to stop suddenly. And then the calf might dart to the right or the left, so the horse would have to change leads to the left or the right. Then the calf might run fast and then go slow, so the horse had to make a circle fast and then go slow. So that sliding stop, those change of leads, those fast and slow circles, and then spins, 4 spins each way at a designated time, like dancers on skates have to include certain moves. So this pattern includes all those moves, but the pattern is different. You understand what I'm talking about. So that's a very difficult thing. It takes years to learn, years to teach the horse, years for the rider to learn, because the horses become so sensitized that it's thinking. If you turn your head this way, the horse is going to go to the right or the left. And if you alter your balance any, the horse is going to sense that and do what it's been taught to do. So you are in a state, to be at your best, you're in a state of union with the horse. You have to be at one in that zen, on the tubes, on the what do you call it? Car racing, on the pipe. You have to be in that unique place, whether it's a mechanical thing like a car or a live thing like a horse. You have to be into it, and that, it seems to me, something I've learned as a performer as well. You have to be immersed in it. You can't be thinking of technique. You can't be thinking of the words. You have to be involved in a unity with whatever it is you're playing or doing. And that's something I seek whenever I'm doing anything. I've taken 7 hours of helicopter lessons, for example, and between the collective and then the other thing. But between the pedals and the collective, what's the other thing? The cycle. Thanks. My instructor will be very happy. I know what to tell you. So between doing all this, if you're thinking, which the beginner student with 7 hours is thinking, feet thing, although I fly a plane, the plane, you can be unified with the plane, but a helicopter is even that much more difficult. So I am yearning for the time when I can be part of that helicopter and using essentially what you do on a racing horse, which is thinking and knowing that your arms and legs are going to follow through and the mechanics are going to be there. I suspect that everybody involved in the kind of work you people do here, technology, involved in discovery, you have to be part of that discovery. The discovery comes as a nice surprise, but it's sort of there all the time, I would think. That's the way it is as a performer. You finally get the performance, but it's been there all the time. Does that strike a chord?
Oh, it does. What you're kind of describing that I sense is there's a lot of preparation, right? You prepare for the moment and you get very competent in that particular skill, whether it's flying a helicopter or flying a plane, to the point where you can do it unconsciously and you're competent.
You know, I've seen, there was a bit up there, somebody writing formula on a blackboard. I used to see that at university, like, whoa, what are they doing? You know, in a class I'm supposed to be attending. Oh. But I've seen mathematicians go to a board and they're writing down formulas, and then they're to the 5th and the 7th, and they've got all these things going on that I have no comprehension. That bothers me a great deal. I mean, I know a lot about, I know a little about a lot of things. So, like, I look at a plumber, you know, doing work on the toilet. I go, well, I can do that. I can do that. I understand that the centrifugal force and the thing, the plunger, and you go. And I understand that. But this guy writing this formula and getting philosophy out of mathematics is beyond my ken. It bothers me. Does it bother you?
Now it does.
But he's at one with that formula. It's spewing out of his mind. His hand can't write fast enough to follow his mind. He's not thinking, what am I doing, or what's the next thing? He is spewing it out. He's vomiting on the It's great. It's fantastic.
No, it is. That's a skill. So let me ask a different question to you, and it has to do with...
If you ask the same question, I'd give the same answer.
We were talking backstage, and when I look at the success you've had in your career, particularly when Captain Kirk, right, Star Trek, and you know, they're hooting and hollering from everywhere. Yeah, okay. You turn that way too. But when you have that, yeah, hold on, there you go.
In Shakespeare terms, those are the groundlings. They carry knives.
But this whole topic of me having so much success with that particular character, many of your peers can never break away from that character. You seem to have done it not only in that role, but you've been successful and won multiple Emmys portraying other characters. How did you reinvent yourself?
Well, you know, I don't understand the term reinvention. I hear that all the time. You've reinvented yourself, like Cisco's come up with a new, whatever. Cisco. The word is router, right? I was a dummy in business, but not in technology. I don't understand understand the term reinvention. What I do understand is evolution.
Okay.
So that, and I'm trying to sort of make it so Cisconian, but I'm going to forget that and go with my own experience. If you do something, for example, facing thousands of people without knowing what you're going to say next is a daunting task, right? I mean, it's bad enough knowing what you're going to say is daunting enough if you have a prepared script and there's this number. But speaking extemporaneously in front of thousands of people and hoping the F-bomb doesn't drop.
What do you say?
So that, how do you get to that point? Well, in this instance, for example, I did a show called Star Trek, and they did several years later, somebody organized a few hundred people into a convention, and they said to me, "Would you come to a convention?" I'm not going to go to a convention. Who's going to be there? People with masks on? I'm not going to be there. I'm an actor. I'm not a monkey on a or a puppet in a. So I didn't go to the first convention until they told me there were 15,000 people there. I thought, well, 15,000 people, I think I better go. So I started speaking and talking, really, in front of a lot of people who would ask me a question, and I would give them the best answer I could think of, and tried to make it amusing and tried to make it informative. Well, that made me accustomed, more than accustomed, confident that I could amuse you all for a short period of time. and so I could come out in front of a large group of people. So, having that confidence, one day, recently, I was asked to do a sitcom called, I can say it, Shit My Dad Says. Right? That was last year, and it was canceled for this year, but it was, I agree with you. But doing a sitcom in front of an audience is a totally different entity than anything else in show business. I didn't realize that. When the audience, 40 people came in to sit down to watch me do lines that I barely knew because they were being changed as we were talking, I fell back on this experience of being at conventions, being accustomed, knowing that you are looking at me as a friend. I'm going to say, hey, I'm in a bit of trouble here. I don't know quite what I'm doing. Bear with me. And you go, oh, okay. And that goes for every single individual in the thousands of, they don't become insidious. They become my friends. And that's what I gained from the conventions to the sitcom. Sitcom is canceled, and I'm asked to do a one-man show in Australia. So I go to Australia, and I sit like this for 2 hours and talk, not unlike we're doing right now. Because the first convention, which I didn't want to go to, resulted in the second convention, which I did go to, and the many conventions that I went to in which I talked like this. I ended up doing a wonderful one-man show in Australia, which I'm going to do in Canada in the fall, and try and perfect that, maybe bring it to the United States if it's good enough. All because I said yes to the convention. So it's not reinventing, it's evolutionary.
Great answer. So let's throw out another word there. You know, I view you to be very creative in the small time that we've shared here. So what role has creativity played, and any suggestions? You know, how do you develop creativity? And how do you use it in what you do?
That's a very difficult question, creativity. Everybody's creative. We start with that premise. Every single one of us. And every infant, from infancy to old age, to when you're dying, I mean, I think you can die creatively. I hope. Because I'm going to try it. What's his name? The drug meister died. The
Kevorkian.
No. Timothy Leary. Timothy Leary died some years ago. And what he purportedly said in his last breath was something that has resonated in me. And that was, he apparently opened his eyes and said, "Of course." What did he know? I want to find out, goddammit! I mean, did he start writing on that board? Did he see the board and the formula came out? He said, "Of course." That's it. The unity of everything. I mean, what did he say "of course" to? It wasn't like the last toke. Would you like the last toke? Of course. So, creativity is within everybody. From the moment of life, as the child is aimlessly looking at the mobile, to when you say "of course" as you die, in between are all these creative moments that you have to recognize. But many times, people don't recognize that it's a creative moment. What do you want on your spaghetti? You know, would you like a little chili? Chili with a little salt and pepper, and you're creating something. I mean, whatever it is, you're in the midst of creativity. When you get to technological feats like Cisco's capable of, and you make these giant leaps of broadband width and routers, then you're known, and Cisco becomes a stock to buy. But creativity is within all of us, and it's getting it out and recognizing it as a creative force, the individual as a creative force. So for me, it's breathing life into a performance. It's writing a book. I've got a book coming out in the fall. I've got a record coming out in the fall. Maybe this is the time to talk about the record and the book.
Sounds like a great time.
Well, I've challenged myself. It doesn't matter anymore if people laugh. All right, I'm going to die soon, so laugh. You know. I've done a record that. So let me tell you what are probably going to be the liner notes. A guy. Herrera, not Jim, his last name is Herrera, I'll think of something. Head of Cleopatra Records, turns up and says, "We'd like you to sing these science fiction tunes." Because I'm an actor, I'm not a puppet. I'm not going to sing any science fiction. So he leaves the lyrics there. Brian Herrera. So he leaves, and I'm looking at these sheaf of songs, and this David Bowie's song, Major Tom, is there, Space Odyssey, and the Schilling song, Countdown. I'm looking at it, geez, I would like to do another record. I did. I had the best time in the previous record that I did. Has been. I had a great time doing that. And that was creative. I wrote the lyrics, then folds to the music. And I went to Nashville and I sang in the Elvis Presley's old studio and heard the Elvis Presley song, stories, you know. And I was part of country music for a brief moment. It was extraordinary. So I really wanted to do another album, but this wasn't anything and then I began to see the lyrics that were making sense to me in a creative flourish. I saw the possibility of following Major Tom, who gets into a liftoff, and then they lose him. Major Tom, are you there? We've lost Major Tom. What happened to Major Tom? Well, I have an album that is either going to be mesmerizing, or you'll laugh gently. It's Seeking Major Tom is the name of the album. I've got Brad Paisley, Sheryl Crow. I've got 20 of the greatest musicians who ever lived playing the Twilight Zone. I got the honorary Headbanger Award from Revolver Magazine because I did Iron Maiden. It's bizarre. But the record, in my opinion, is stupefying. And all that remains now, because the record is done, is to present it to you and say, what do you think? And that's where I'm at. I don't know what you groundlings, reaction. I hope now that I've turned my face to you, you will like my record. But it is in that tenuous moment of, I don't know, I think it's wonderful, but I don't know whether you will think that. And so when Brian Pereira, this Cleopatra guy, gave me a producer whose name was Adam Hamilton, I didn't know Adam Hamilton. He was apparently the lead singer in a group that was popular several years ago in Los Angeles. But I didn't know. So I said, look, I don't know you, you don't know me, I don't know whether I can do this. But one of the numbers that I want to do is Bohemian Rhapsody. Okay? I mean, one of the great pieces of music, of modern music, right? You agree with that?
Absolutely.
And I said, I'm going to attempt to do this. Now, I don't know who you are. I don't know the limits of your talent. Why don't we start with Bohemian Rhapsody? And if we can pull this off, everything else will be easy. And that's what we did. And I played Bohemian Rhapsody. We were mixing a few days ago, and there were two guys, the owner of the studio, who, out of curiosity, came to hear it, and he went, awesome. And it's either fantastic or it's not. And that's the other part of creativity. You create something, and for you it's good, and it may be the worst thing that you ever saw or heard.
Well, you know, one of the things that you said that really hits home with me is I would kind of describe you as fearless.